Hey everybody, how you doing? Tekking and Barry here back again. I think I'm gonna wear a top hat in today's video just because I had it lying over there and it looks cool, so okay. This will be One Piece Chapter 1007 review titled Mr. Raccoon Dog, or Tanuki-san to use the Japanese honorific. Of course, Chopper is a reindeer, but he's often referred to as a Tanuki, and oh, where's Now, did I lose another one? Oh my god, Zoro's still out there trying to be the best poster in the world, and I can't find Chopper anywhere. Oh, right, he's right here. Okay, cool. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so, this is, Tony Chopper. He's the doctor aboard the Straw Hat Crew. He's, rather adorable. He's, worth 100 berries, so that's pretty, it's pretty good there, Chopper. Although, I feel like after this arc, after this chapter's particularly, he should be recognized. Like, there should be no reason why he would not be recognized for the true powerhouse that he is. His bounty should probably go up to an actual number. Like, it should at least be 1 million. I mean, it should be a lot more than that, but can we at least hit 7 digits by the end of this damn arc? But anyway, yeah, here's Chopper. He's a reindeer, but he's often referred to as a Tanuki. And I gotta say, that running gag, it appears a lot in One Piece. I think it stretched as far back. I don't know if it started in Drum Island. If it didn't, it was really early on after Chopper's introduction where people would mistake him for a Tanuki, right? But I never really found it, like, super funny, you know, the way it's referenced, because usually it's just like, you know, oh, Mr. Tanuki, come over here. I'm not a Tanuki, I'm a reindeer! It'd be like, okay, whatever. I mean, it's a running gag. It's not one of the most funny in all of One Piece, but it's there. This chapter spun it in a way that really made me laugh, okay? So, we'll get to that. But first, oh, we have the cover page. I want to talk about that really quick. It's nothing in particular. It's not starting a new cover series or anything like that, but it does feature Caesar Clown, and so it shows Caesar Clown making a bunch of, like, balloons for penguins just because. Like, here's some balloons for penguins, and then they're flying around and stuff, and as Caesar Clown's just sitting there and just blowing bubbles. But, well, whatever. The point is that I've always kind of, for some reason, wanted the Marvelous Misadventures of Caesar Clown as a cover series. I don't know if we're gonna get that. This is just a cover art request, of course, but you know, that's what Caesar's doing. So he reformed his ways, okay? He's no longer trying to make death weapons out of gas or whatever. He got away from Whole Cake Island, he got away from the Straw Hats and Beiji's crews, and now he's just hanging out on an island, making balloons for penguins, okay? I think that's a better use of his time, if nothing else, okay? So I just wanted to talk about that. Alright, so we start off the chapter on the festival stage, and things are pretty crazy, alright? So last chapter we had Hyogoro of the Flowers, you know, channeling the raw power of the Isoni virus while still somewhat maintaining his sanity. The chapter ended with him about to lose his sense of self, though, and so he asked Yatape to just end it, and so that's kind of where we ended, with Yatape holding the sword over Hyogoro, his boss, his Yakuza boss, and, like, tears are streaming down his face like he doesn't want to do it. We get a little bit of more elaboration on the absolute devastation and the power of Hyogoro, okay? He alone took out the heavy hitters on the Oniwabanshu, the ninja squad, as well as the Mimawari Gumi, okay? So the Mimawari Gumi was led by that Hote dude. Hyogoro took Hote out, as well as with the ninja squad with the Oniwabanshu, he took out Daikoku and Kaze Kage-sama. Freaking Hyogoro took out the Kaze Kage! Gaara himself has nothing on Hyogoro of the Flowers. His power, I understand what they were saying last chapter now. It was like, man, we can't let him lose his sanity and go all Isoni because he would just devastate the entire... You know, Hyogoro could probably just slice apart the entire Muffin Mountain, okay? So it's probably good that you took these extra steps, but absolutely strong. You know, of course, he was the former boss of the Yakuza of the entire Flower Capital back in the day, before Kaido really took over. And of course, you know, with this, it might have even been a case, and he kind of referenced this last chapter, if he would have fought alongside Oden back in the day, it might have been a situation where Hyogoro in his prime might have rivaled Oden in his prime. Maybe Oden was a little bit stronger, you want to say that, because, you know, he fought on, you know, Whitebeard and Roger's crew and everything, but their power was probably not much different when they were in their prime, okay? So, yeah. At any rate here, everybody is just really surprised by that. However, Hyogoro is now beginning to change, and so Yatape's there, and, you know, Hyogoro's like, you gotta do it, Yatape! You must steel yourself! You must do this. It is my order as your boss. And Yatapei's there. He's like, I know, boss, I know. Just give me a second, okay? I didn't expect to do this today, all right? Yatapei, at that moment, flashback to his life in the Kibi region of Wano, remembering the day that he was accepted into the Yakuza proper by Hyogoro. Back then, Yatapei, by the way, this whole chapter is just about Yatapei. Yeah, I know it's titled Tanuki-san, but really there's only one joke with that. The rest of this chapter is about the life of Yatapei, all right? So and that's fine. I'm cool with that because the Kibi region of Wano is the one that hasn't been really fleshed out the most, so that's good. Okay, so Yatapei, back in his younger years when he was only, 20 years old, he actually worked in a bakery in Kibi. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. Finally, after freaking months and years of the whole bakery shtick, we finally get something that's actually relevant. He actually ran a damn bakery, okay? He made these little honey buns. They were delicious. Okay, so he's working in the bakery, and, he's just doing his thing. It was a family business. Everybody loved the sweet buns. And then one day, Hyogoro walked in, and he bought a sweet bun, and he ate it, and he loved it, and he asked him, join my Yakuza gang. And then Yatapei, of course, agreed, and then they walked out of the bakery, and he never looked back. Okay, most of that was headcanon. In fact, the entirety of that was headcanon and just me coming up with, a story out of nowhere. We're probably never going to get the story of Yatapei, but suffice to say, Yatapei probably is thinking about that. All of the Yakuza bosses are. Cho is off to the side, and she's reminiscing, and she's thinking about it, like, of course Yatapei doesn't want to do it. He was like a father to us all. He's Hyogoro. Then we cut over to Omasa and Tsunagoro, the broken hat guy. Tsunagoro, he doesn't actually have a broken hat, but his hair resembles like a broken casa hat, so that's why he has the name. Anyway, Omasa was also afflicted with the Ice Oni. In fact, he was the first Yakuza boss to actually get afflicted by it. But Marco's fire managed to mitigate the effects. Well, he's turning back into one. So Tsunagoro is just like, I'm sorry, Omasa, I don't want to do it. You have to do it, sir. You have to do it, Tsunagoro. Ah! And so everybody's really freaking out here. And at the same time, everybody in the festival hall, including the pleasures and the waiters, have kind of finally had enough, and they just start all rallying together and shouting up to Queen, like, Queen, come on, you have to do something, because, like, I guess the Tanuki dog hasn't created the antibodies yet, he hasn't created the vaccine, so you can stop this, right? You have to stop it. You're our we work for you. We're on the same crew. Come on, Queen. And Queen, he's a brachiosaur at this point. He kind of just looks down to everybody in the hall, and he's just like, shut up, all of you. You don't understand, do you? This Ice Oni is my magnum opus, my greatest virus I've ever created. And in a sense, it was created just for you. And of course, that's the messed up thing, but in reality, that's what Queen was really thinking. What if I could create some kind of virus that can turn you into some crazy ice monster that rampages around? You know how that would be really effective? What if I had the entire crowd of pleasures and waiters and all the lower ranking members of the Beast Pirates, and then they all got affected and everybody just ripped each other to shreds? Yeah, that'd be pretty effective. So Queen literally made this virus with the express purpose of turning it on his own crew in order to have the maximum level of effect and devastation. All right, that is completely messed up, right? And he mentions he even like stabs it a little deeper into everybody, because he's just like, hey, you pleasures, you're just failures. You were failures as soon as you bit into that smile and you didn't get the power. Now you're just all a bunch of idiots that can do nothing but laugh. And of course the pleasures, because they've, eaten the smiles and they were failures, they can't express their rage or just disappointment in the fact that this is their life. So they're just like, oh man, that's really messed up, man. Our boss, Queen, the guy we've worked for 4 years, doesn't care about us in the slightest, and in fact created a Ice Oni virus just so we can get affected and we can die for the express purpose of just causing as much bloodshed as possible. That's freaking weird, right? Oh my god, what has become of our lives? I know, right? That's such a freaking laugh riot. Okay, so that's the pleasures. Then we have the waiters, who they haven't eaten the devil fruits at all yet, and they're going to be waiting probably forever because Queen directly says, hey, waiters, get a reality check. There's no more smiles coming. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's right. The sad factory on Punk Hazard kind of got sliced up by Law and then kind of blew up. And then the Smile factory at Dressrosa also kind of got destroyed. yeah, I guess there are no more smiles in production. That was kind of the whole point of those last few arcs, right? To limit smile production before we even got to Wano. So obviously the waiters are going to be waiting forever because there's no new shipments coming in of smiles. So they're like the whole premise of them are completely pointless now. And so Queen's like, you know, you're going to make yourselves useful to me in other ways by, you know, just like sucking up this virus and turning into ice onis and then just rampaging, right? I gave you guys an option. I gave you guys a way out. I gave you that antibody. I gave you that single vial of an antibody. And, well, whatever happens at this point doesn't matter. And Queen goes on to say that that Tanuki dog or whatever, that's, you know, that member of the Straw Hat crew that's hanging out back there, I'll tell you what, he can't make the entirety of that antibody. You know, he can't make something to cure all of you. You know, there's thousands of people in this hall. What's he going to do? He can't mass produce that quickly. He's just a random ship doctor. I guarantee you, as soon as he got away with that antibody, he took it, he got better, and then he left because he's a pirate, just like us. And I gotta be honest with you, the people, even the other members of the Beast Pirates actually have a lot of faith in Chopper, even though they have no idea who Chopper is or anything about him, really. They're like, you know, yeah, he might be a pirate, but he's not like you. He's not a scumbag like you, Queen. And so Queen's like, whatever, I don't care. And so, yeah, at this point, even the members of the rebellion, even the samurai that are fighting against the waiters and the pleasures are like, wow, I mean, I know they're the enemy and everything, but this is really a messed up situation. Like, their boss is literally telling them that, you know, that we never cared about you. You were always a means to an end. You were all pawns from the very beginning. And, you know, I literally created a virus to just, you know, kill all of you so you can take out the enemies for us. Like, so even the samurai of Wano are like, that's really messed up, right? I kind of feel bad for them even though they are the enemy, right? And so, we have this moment here where a lot of the members of the Beast Pirates are all standing in front of everybody, and the Ice Onis are just, they're really beginning to encroach now. Like, a bunch of them are all turned into Ice Onis, and this guy, this member of the Beast Pirates, random waiter, I guess, is just like, you know what? You know what? This is BS! I'm gonna cut down as many of these Ice Oni as we can, and maybe if we're lucky, we could just get the hell out of here. I'm quitting this crew. I'm going back home. I left my wife and kids for this bullshit. Let's go! You know? So you can kind of see their reasoning here, right? You can kind of see where they're coming from. They're just like, man, I'm out of here. All right, I'm gonna go back home. I'm gonna start up that bakery, man. That's the key for every One Piece character. So, like, after this is done, I'm gonna go start a bakery. That's kind of what Zeph did. It wasn't a bakery, it was a restaurant, but that's kind of what Zeph did. He used to be a pirate, and then after being stranded on that rock for like 85 days, he's like, you know what? You know, and after I get out of this, I'm gonna make a restaurant. I'm like, okay, good. And, you know, look at Zeph. Look at Zeph. He's still alive. He's missing a leg, but he's still alive. Okay, there you go. That's the secret. And so we could very well have a situation now where if they do manage to survive the Ice Oni virus, if Chopper does manage to cure them all, then they will, you know, work on the Straw Hats and the rebellion side, okay? That is, if Chopper can get a cure. Chopper! It's time, buddy! It's time! You know, it's like, you know, the final hour! The last chance for romance! You gotta do this, man! Okay, so, we now cut back over to Hyogoro, and Yatape has finally steeled himself. He's just like, okay, alright, I'm gonna do it! I'm gonna do it! For honor! For Bushido! For samurai! Ah! And then he brings down the sword, and at that exact moment, just like, not exactly how I said it was going to happen, I thought Chopper was going to be in his heavy point when he did it. No, he shows up in his brain point as like little tiny Chopper and grabs the sword mid-swing. And you know Yatape's a strong dude, right? He's like one of the Yakuza bosses of Wano, and he was bringing down that sword, and you know he had to be bringing it down pretty fast. The whole point of this is to be a mercy, you know, not to be, you know, you don't want to do this half-heartedly and, you know, get stuck halfway through somebody's like, oh crap, sorry boss, you know. No, he brought that sword down with purpose to just shing, you know, end it in one slice. And so Chopper stopped that in his brain point, just used his hooves to like block the sword. And so it stops, and Yatape's like, what? And then you see Hyogoro gulp down something, like Hyogoro is just like, what happened? And then you see it, this one scene where Chopper, completely cured, he no longer has the effects of the Ice Oni, like he doesn't have the fangs or like his body frosting over or whatever. His just bright and cheery little face, all his eyes are just like super wide, and he's just like, what a relief! I made it in time! You know? He just pops in like a freaking stuffed animal plushie, like, hi! Just like, ah, okay, well, hi, how are you doing? And he's like, I made it in time. So Chopper, I just want to throw that out there right now. Chopper blocking, you know, maybe a full power swing from a Yakuza boss in Wano. That's something he's got going on there. I mean, we know Chopper is strong when he goes into his heavy point or his monster point, but, you know, that was just something impressive, okay? And so Chopper is like super excited, and everybody's like, okay, now we have to do this. Miyagi, Tristan, bring in the cannons! And so these giant cannons get wheeled out, and they just bombard the entire hallway with cannon fire. So, I don't know if people are thinking, because, like, Chopper doesn't really have time to explain what his plan is or what he's doing. He just kind of like, alright, cool, we made it in time. Fire the cannons! Yay, Mr. Tanuki! Wait, what? Boom! And the entire hall just gets leveled with cannon fire and gets covered in smoke. The smoke cloud takes the appearance of, like a little cute, like, chibi face. I guess it's supposed to be in reference to Chopper. So, like, a little chibi face is kind of in the dust cloud that just gets, you know, swamped over the entirety of the festival hall. And he calls it the Chopper Phage Neutralizer, okay? And when I read that, I saw that word phage, P-H-A-G-E, and I'd heard that word before, so I'm sitting there thinking, like, where have I heard that word before? And I was, like, thinking, like, it was in a biology class I took when I was, like, in college. Like, holy crap, did I actually remember something from a college class I had, like, 9 years ago? And I'm thinking, like, okay, alright, it's something. And no, I think it's from Venture Brothers, from Dr. Phineas Phage from there. It's like, I am Dr. Phineas Phage! I'm like, okay, well, close enough, I guess. A phage, or a bacteriophage, from what I understand, is something that's related to viruses that can be used to neutralize them. You want more information? Go talk to a doctor, talk to a chemist or a biologist. I don't freaking know. It sounds cool, and that's all that matters, right? It has something to do with viruses, and of course, the whole thing with Queen is the Isoni virus, so there you go. Chopper explains to Queen, and everybody's kind of freaking out when the smoke settles. You know, he's just like, well, look, there's thousands of people in this hall. You know, there's no way I could have injected every single one of them. That was a big concern that I had. Like, how the hell would Chopper even administer this to everybody? So Chopper decided pretty early on, he's like, okay, I'm just gonna fight fire with fire here. You're using a virus for evil. I'm sorry, evil! So I'm gonna use a virus for good. Virus for good. Okay, so he's literally developed a virus and mixed in the antibodies and then fired it in a gas form. You gotta also think maybe Chopper picked up some stuff from Caesar there, because they did work together a little bit when they made the cure at Zoe. So Chopper doesn't like Caesar very much, you know, considering all the stuff he got up to at Punk Hazard and everything with the kids. But maybe Chopper did take a cue from Caesar, like, alright, well, in this particular instance, a gas weapon as a cure to neutralize Queen's virus, that would actually work really well. And so he used that to make this giant gas, and everybody's inhaling it, and their body temperature is returning to normal, and the ice oni parts are like disappearing and cracking off of them, and it's a massive cure, and everybody's like, yes, Mr. Tanuki, we did it! And Queen's there is like, how the hell could you, a random ship doctor, have found the cure to this? And Queen is still thinking that Chopper is nothing more than just like a regular random doctor that just, like, you know, saws limbs off on the freaking Sunny on the high seas, you know? Oh, you got a cut on your finger? Well, sorry, buddy, it looks like you're gonna have to lose that arm. No, Chopper, of course, states, hey, look, we've trained for 2 years. I went all over the world to learn all these different kinds of medicine. He doesn't mention the Torino Kingdom specifically, but I mean, that's what he did, right? So he's like, I'm not your random, you're not dealing with the average pirate ship doctor anymore. I'm the legendary super doctor! And Queen is like, no, it's impossible! And then Chopper goes into Super Doctor 3 and then punches Queen right in the face. I am only kidding about some of that. Alright? Some of that I was kidding about. Anyway, Chopper, of course, has his big statement where he's like, you know, viruses, he says it very seriously. Like, he has the moment where he pops in and he's really cheery, and he's like, he cures everybody in one big swoop, and then he immediately switches gears and looks straight at Queen, and he's just like, viruses are not to be used as a weapon! You idiot! They'll get out of hand and they'll take over the world or something. Like, you don't use them like that! And so Queen is just like, whatever, I do what I want. And he's like, opens up his mouth, and the giant giant gun turret comes out, and he's not ready to laser him, he's about ready to just shoot him. And so Chopper's about to protect himself, maybe with guard point, but before he can even get to that point, a bunch of the pleasures just jump in front of him, like, don't worry, Mr. Tanuki, we got this. And they just get pumped full of bullets, but even, they don't die, but even after they get pumped full of bullets, they're still laughing, so they get back up and they're all bloodied, and they're like, it's alright, we're here to protect you. You saved us. Screw Queen. We're working for you now. So I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, we kind of assumed that could have happened, you know, considering how Queen just didn't care about his own men or anything. And at the end of the day, I mean, some random help from some pleasures and some waiters are probably not going to take down Queen, the Plague, you know, one of the calamities, you know. That's probably why Queen just didn't give a shit, because he's just like, I'm so stronger, I'm so much more powerful than all of you. You could all team up and fight against me. I can literally just step on you with my Brachiosaur power, right? At any rate, all of the pleasures and the waiters in the hall have decided to shift over and help out the Straw Hats, help out the rebellion. Specifically, whatever Chopper tells them to do, they're probably going to do. It's also at this point where Marco pops in, and Marco, I guess he managed to get away from King for a moment. He goes in and he wraps his blue fire around Queen's neck so he can't move, kind of puts him into a chokehold sort of deal with his blue fire. And then he's just like, all right, Tanuki-san, go ahead, get a hit out on him. You have to be the first one to do this. You know, have everything that's happened here. And so Chopper's like, right, but let me just tell you one thing. And this is an awesome Chopper moment. He takes a freaking rumble ball, pops it, turns into Monster Point, grow, and then boom, slaps Queen right in the face with his giant cloven monster hooves as he says, I'm not a Tanuki, I'm a damn reindeer. Boom! And he slaps Queen as hard as he can. Queen, like, blood gushes out of his mouth and out of his brachiosaur nose, and he's just like, boom! And then hits the ground. So Chopper and Queen looks like we are going to get that fight, which is what I was expecting. This is going to be awesome. Chopper, and I'm sure, you know, Drake is there, Marco's there. He'll have some help, plus the Yakuza, they'll help him out too. But we're going to have Chopper against one of the calamities. This is gonna be cool, right? Okay, this is gonna be fun if this continues the way I'm hoping it continues. But anyway, the joke is, everybody, not just Queen, everybody has been calling him a Tanuki dog, or Tanuki-san. Everybody. Marco, the Yakuza, the other samurai, freaking Hyogoro, Drake. Everybody's been calling him that. And so he just, well, he's been busy. He's been working. He doesn't have time to correct everybody. But he's like, all right, I just saved all your lives. I'm going to get, you know, Marco's like, you know, go ahead, Mr. Tanuki. Punch him in the face. You go first. And he transforms into Monster Point. He's like, okay, I just want to get everything one thing straight here. And you know, Chopper was probably directly speaking to Queen because he really doesn't like Queen. And he's like, because Queen was calling him a Tanuki too. And he's like, you damn Tanuki. And he's like, I'm not a Tanuki. Bam! But then everybody else in the hallway is like, yeah, you go Tanuki. Oh, wait. Oh, crap. Sorry. Everybody. So you see Drake and all the Yakuza, Hyogoro, Marco, they're all like, sorry, I thought you were a Tanuki dog. You just kind of looked like a Tanuki dog. Everybody else was calling you a Tanuki dog. Okay, there you go. But yeah, that was pretty funny. That was the funniest I'd ever seen that running gag used in One Piece before. That was pretty good. So Chopper versus Queen. Booyah! Let's see where this goes. Right, okay. And so now we cut over to the last few scenes of the chapter. We see the scene where Momo, Yamato, and Shinobu are still running through the area. Yamato mentions that in between each floor of the tower that they're in, of Kaido's manor, there's a very convenient crawl space used for, like, storage and whatnot, I would assume. So that actually gives them a good opportunity to, like, they can run up the stairs and then hide for a little bit and wait until, you know, everybody clears out, and then they can go up one more floor, and they just kind of keep doing that. As they're running, you know, Momo is still hiding in Yamato's clothing, and so Yamato is like, oh, are you okay? Like, I'm not, like hurting you or whatever, like, running this fast or whatever. And Momo is just like, I'm not doing okay. I'm weak, and I'm pitiful, and I'm not brave, and everybody wants, you know, me to be this great warrior, and I just suck at it. And so Shinobu kind of, like, tries to cheer him up. Shinobu's like, don't worry, Master Momo. You know, you did so well. You're being so brave right now. Honestly, in all all things considered, Momo being 8 years old is actually doing pretty good for, being tied up by Kaido and having that moment of defiance of just like, I am Kozuki Momonosuke, my father was Kozuki Oden, do what you will. And yet he's crying and he's bawling, but he's a freaking kid. All right, I think all things considered, I think Momo is being pretty damn brave in this situation. So Shinobu tries to cheer him up like, oh, master, Lord Momo, you're doing fine. You're very brave. And Momo has a moment where he just, like, inside of Yamato's clothing turns into a dragon, which I imagine that probably felt a little weird from Yamato's perspective. Just all of a sudden just running and then just, whoa, what's going on? What's going on? Pop! And then pop! Freaking Momonosuke turns into a dragon, Chinese dragon, inside of the clothing and then pops out. And Yamato is like, an eel? You're an eel now. Okay, because Yamato's never seen that transformation before. And so Shinobu's also surprised by that, of course. And so as he pops out, though, Momonosuke is like, I am not brave! And that's all we get from that scene there. So I don't know if this is like the moment where Momo just has like a breakdown, where he's just like, I can't do this. All right, everybody expects me to be able to handle this. I literally burned up all of my confidence when I was about to be killed by Kaido on that scaffold. Like Momo might have a freaking panic attack right now, and I can't really blame him considering everything that's going on right now, right? Plus all of the weight that's being put on his shoulders, to lead this country and stuff. He might just have a moment where he's like, I'm not my dad, okay? You don't understand. I am not Oden. All right? I did not kill a bear with a damn rock when I was 4 years old. All right? I can't do this anymore. So, why was that scene there? I think for one part to, showcase, Momonosuke's current, current feelings on everything. But there's another reason that was put there. The very next scene, we now cut over to the CP0 that are hanging out in that room, still completely untouched by the battle, really. They seem pretty chill. They don't seem worried that, like, Queen's gonna break down through the wall at any given moment, so they're probably in a little secure area. And I'm assuming the leader of the CP0, this dude, the guy with the mask and like the stitches on his face or whatever on the mask, he's sitting there and he's just like, back in the day when Kaido was captured by the Marines, this was already confirmed. It was stated that Kaido had been captured by the Marines and by other Yonko like plenty of times. They just never could kill him because he's invincible. Like, that's the premise. He's like, well, back in the day, the Marines captured Kaido for a little while. And Vegapunk actually managed to extract the bloodline factor or the lineage factor or DNA in order to replicate his devil fruit. However, Vegapunk was never happy with the results. The world government wanted it, but Vegapunk was like, it's a failure, it's not going to work, and so he just left it in storage at Punk Hazard, right? I see some problems with that. Like, you'd think the world government, even if it was a failure and it wasn't artificial, you'd think the world government would be like, we don't care, you're giving it to us. You work for us, Vegapunk. He's like, oh no, I can't give it to you, it's a failure. And like, I think the world government would still be like, yeah, we still want that fruit. But at any rate, Vegapunk managed to keep it on Punk Hazard in storage, which was the fruit, of course, that Momonosuke ended up eating. And so, they don't know that exactly, but this one member of the CP0 is like, Vegapunk, kept it on the island, and the island was destroyed in that explosion recently. And so the other members of the CP0 are like, why are you bringing this up now? Yeah, the fruit was there, and it was probably just destroyed in the explosion. And he's just like, yes, we can hope. I'm just wondering. I'm just thinking that it's a good thing that dragon fruit that Vegapunk created was a failure after all. So that's kind of interesting that Oda put those two scenes side by side. The scene where Momo turns into a dragon, and then the scene where the CP0 are like, it's a good thing it was a failure. It was a failure. Wink. Is that implying that the dragon zone that Momonosuke ate might not very well be a failure? A lot of theories have kind of been abound about this, where the reason that his devil fruit isn't very strong is not because it was a failure, it was because, Momo's like 8 years old, right? He's a kid. If he were to, grow and train with his devil fruit the same way that, like, Luffy trained with the Gomu Gomu no Mi when he was 7, when Luffy first had the Gomu Gomu no Mi, he couldn't even he couldn't break a rock or whatever with his punch, he could stretch, but not very far, and he couldn't really, damage anything. He trained for 10 years on Dawn Island, you know, with Ace and Sabo, well, mostly with Ace, and then eventually he, you know, got to the point where it's like Gummo Gummo no pistol, and it could like break rocks and boulders apart, right? So the idea is, you know, Momo trained with it. By the time Momo reaches like his 40s or 50s, like the same age Kaido is, he might very well be on the same level of Kaido. It's possible, right? And so that's kind of where I'm going with this thing that the CP0 member is mentioning. Like, you know, he directly says it's a good thing it was a failure. So that thinks that that makes me think that Oda is setting up foreshadowing, like Momo's fruit is actually not going to be a failure. Momo's fruit is actually going to be really relevant here. There's also the theory that you could use Shinobu's devil fruit, the mature fruit, in order to age Momonosuke to an older point in time. There were other theories also involving this with Toki's time fruit. If Toki had some kind of time ability where she could not just send people into the future, but accelerate time. If somehow Momonosuke could, you know, age to the point where he's like super strong with his devil fruit, that's also a possibility that's out there. We don't know if we don't know if Shinobu's mature fruit would work on like humans. She's used it on like the ground, like the soil before. She's used it for stuff like that and like to age like the wood and stuff in like the support structures and like buildings. But I don't think she's ever used it on a person. And we have no idea what's up with Toki, if she's still around, or if the time fruit, what's up with that, and even if it does have that ability. So there's a lot of stuff going on why that wouldn't work. But the theory has definitely been out there. I've definitely seen that quite a bit, where Momo is going to get, you know, he's going to age up to like age 40 and be super strong like Oden and then fight in the battle for real. Like that's a theory that's been around there. So I don't know, but the way it was said, it seems like Momo's dragon fruit is going to play a lot more of a pivotal role here than just like a running gag or whatever, right? It's going to be something interesting. And hey, I also talked about this in a video a while back. What if Vegapunk, what if it wasn't a failure? What if Vegapunk created the artificial devil fruit of the dragon and it was actually a success? He just lied to the world government and said it was a failure so they wouldn't get their hands on it, because Vegapunk knows about all the destruction that the world government could wrought if they had the power of Kaido's dragon. So the reason why it's so weak is not because of the fruit itself, it's just because Momo is young, and if he trained with it, he would get stronger with it, maybe to the level of Kaido. We'll see where this goes, but kind of interesting, though, to put that in there. So with that being said, we now cut over to the last scene of the chapter, which is probably the first thing that everybody mentioned in the comments for this video. Did you see what happened? Did you see what happened? I saw what happened. I read the spoilers for these chapters when they first come out because I feel like, okay, this is my job at this point, you know, right? This is the biggest video of the week when I do the One Piece review and everything, so I kind of like to be prepared a few days in advance, like, okay, so this is what happened, so now I can kind of take some time to think about possibilities and see what's going on here. So we cut over to the area in the storage, the storage treasure room where all the scabbards were being healed, and they all wake back up after being healed, and they're like, Kinemon's there, and like, so he's like, oh wow, all of our wounds are healed. Who treated us? And none of the scabbards really have a good idea, or they really saw who it was. It was a dark room after all. Kawamatsu kind of says that, oh yeah, I sort of saw somebody healing us, but it couldn't have been, because I must have been hallucinating or something. I must have lost too much blood, because it looked like someone that's impossible. And so they're like, okay, well, whatever. I mean, whoever healed us, we don't know, but we'll thank them later. The point is, right now, that we've recovered enough to actually fight. Luffy and Zoro and everybody are up there on the roof fighting against Kaido and Big Mom, but we still have some fight left in us as scabbards. It's our job to get down there and help out some other battles, right? So they're right about to leave the room to go and fight, when all of a sudden the door opens, revealing Kozuki Oden. I was going to joke, I was going to be like, revealing Eneru, but no, it's Kozuki Oden. He's, boom, he's back, he walks in, and he's like, welcome back, everybody. Man, you've all aged. It's been quite some time since I've seen all of you. And then the chapter ends with Kinemon there and all of the scabbards in absolute disbelief and utter shock. Like, Oden-sama! With tears in their eyes. Oden is back. You think that a freaking bullet to the head was enough to bring him down? You think a bullet to the head and being dropped in freaking boiling oil for over an hour was enough to bring down Oden? Hell no, he is back and he's going to be ending this battle in like 0.2 seconds, okay? Alright, so this is probably not Oden. I'm just gonna throw that out there right now. If you have that idea to go with that, like Oden's back, he's you know, Toki's time fruit or something else, you know, time travels in One Piece, this could be him. Yeah, I don't think this is Oden. I'm sorry, I don't. Upon examining this, there are some obvious things about this character, and then there's some not so obvious things. Okay, so first off, the most obvious thing, which makes this Oden a little bit different from the Oden that we all know and love from the flashback that we got, probably the thing that everybody noticed right away, are the swords. So Oden still has 2 katanas at his hip. The katanas are still like, you know, well, I guess in the manga it looks, you know, white and black in terms of the hilt, but, you know, when we know about Enma now, Enma's actually purple, but the color schemes of the swords are in fact the same. However, the swords that he has on his hip are not Enma and Ame no Habekiri. The guards are different. They look like just more generic kind of blades that just have the color palette, okay? Now, obviously that makes sense because we know Enma is with Zoro right now, and we know Ame no Habekiri is currently with Tenguyama Hitetsu. So obviously, even if Oden were to come back from the past, you know, time travel or whatever, cryogenic suspension, he trained in the hyperbolic time chamber, whatever you want to say, he wouldn't have the same swords because they're other places, right? So that's probably the first thing people noticed. The second thing that's, it's a little bit obvious but not super obvious, was the length of his outfit. I don't think it's a kimono. I don't know exactly what the correct term for it is, but the length of his robe is a little bit longer. In fact, a lot longer, because if you go back and look at the way he dressed during the flashback, yeah, you could see his, like, fundoshi. You could see his underwear, basically, as he's, like, walking around, okay? He's got a lot of leg room, okay? Here, it goes right down to his ankles, like, I think, which is the proper way, like the way Kinemon wears it, you know, like his gi or whatever. I don't know if that's the correct term either, but anyway, yeah, so that's his, like, outfit. So it's, like, not how Oden dressed. It's, like, with a longer robe and then with different swords, so that's kind of throwing it out there right now. Like, it makes sense for him to have different swords, but for Oden, and it's aside from the length of that, everything else is the same. Like, he still has the Kozuki crest on him, he still has the rope on his back, like, it's the same outfit, just extended a bit, okay? So that's a little bit, a few questions there. And then the last thing that's a little different about this, I feel like I'm playing one of those games where it's like spot the difference of the 2 images or whatever, but the other thing that's something different is if you look at the bottom of his, right by his feet, you see smoke or some kind of mist or fog swirling around his feet as he's, like, opening up the door to greet the scabbards, okay? And so that got me thinking 2 possibilities here. So what I'm leaning on the most right now is that this is Onimaru. This is Onimaru, the Kitsune, the pet of Ushimaru Shimosuke, who used to be the daimyo of the Ringo region of Wano that we met during, you know, back during Kawamatsu's little backstory. And Onimaru is a Kitsune that has the ability to transform into people, because Onimaru transformed into Gyukimaru, the guardian of the bridge, of the bandit's bridge, so he has the ability to do that. Also, Gyukimaru was able to speak and have a conversation and everything like that, so that would make sense there. And I went back and looked at the scene when Onimaru transformed from Gyukimaru back into his original Kitsune form, and it was very similar kind of fog or mist that was like poof around the Kitsune when he did that, okay? And then he was a little wounded, so he just kind of wandered off into the snow. And I don't think that's how that story was just going to end right there. Like, the Kitsune transforms back and just like, okay, well, I've done my duty. I've saved all of the swords. I guess I'll just go rest now and hope everybody helps out and hope everybody wins the war. And he wanders off. So I think it's Gyukimaru. And obviously that's where the swords would have come from, because they've been amassing swords for their entire time. So obviously, Onimaru could transform into Oden, pick up some swords. They wouldn't be the same swords Oden had, obviously, but they were swords that resembled it. And then also maybe, Onimaru is like transformed into Oden but couldn't remember exactly, because Onimaru would have definitely met Oden, because Oden kind of traveled all around Wano and he met all of the different, daimyos and everything. And Oden was friends with the Shimosuke clan because he was friends with Yasue, so he'd also be friends with Ushimaru probably. And so they would have met each other, and so he would have known to transform into Oden, and except maybe he didn't remember, or maybe the fox was just like, yeah, I'm not going to wear the same thing Oden did. I'm going to extend that robe a little bit, right? So that's a possibility there. I think that's the most likely, and also Oden, the fact that he opens the door and the first thing Oden says is, it's been a while since I've seen all of you. You've aged, right? Or at least some of them have aged, because, Kinemon and the others, they've time jumped, but what if it's been a while since Onimaru saw any of them? Onimaru, even before, the time jump occurred, it might have been years and years before Onimaru last saw Kinemon or Raizo or somebody, right? So that could have been a situation there where it's like, man, I haven't seen you guys in forever. You've grown old, but I'm happy to see you again, right? And so that's the fox that has arrived, and the fox was the one that healed everybody, and it's just like, okay, well, I might not be able to help you. Well, he was Gyukimaru. He did fight off bandits on the bridge for over 10 years, ever since Kawamatsu got captured, so he can definitely fight. I don't know how well he's going to be able to fight against, Calamities or Tobiropo or anything, but against random members of the crew, yeah, he could probably do that. Yeah, so I'm thinking this is Gyukimaru, and I think the shock from it, like being Oden, is going to surprise a lot of people. Maybe the fox doesn't understand, like, hey, if I transform into Oden, they all like Oden. They'll trust me. They'll like to see that. Maybe they're like, after he transforms back into the fox, they might be pissed, but they're like, okay, well, it's just Onimaru, Okay, we know about Onimaru, right? The other possibility that I wanted to throw out there, it's not completely likely, but it is there. We also have Katarina Devon as a member of Blackbeard's crew that's able to transform using the Kitsune, the nine-tailed fox mythical devil fruit. Okay? So we have two Kitsunes kind of going on here in the same arc. Now, Katarina Devon, I did go over, I went back at that chapter and looked at how she transforms when she transformed into Absalom back into herself, and she did it in the middle of the air. She kind of jumped up off the platform, and it just poof, and then she landed, and then she was back to her original form, right? So it did also create a poof. So this also could have been her, and it could be her, and she's just lying. She's just like, oh, you've all aged. I haven't seen you in forever. Oh my goodness, it's so great to see you again, right? And she's just pretending to be Oden to fool them all. Now, Katarina Devon is pretty old. I think she's like in her 50s or 60s. I don't think we have an exact age for her. So I don't know how this would have worked, how she would have even seen Oden. That's why there's like a lot of holes with this theory. But if her Kitsune ability, we don't know how her Nine-Tails zone works exactly. It might just be like from a picture or something she's able to transform, although I don't... Well, Oden did have a wanted poster. That is a thing. Oden did have a wanted poster. He was a pirate on Roger and Whitebeard's crew, so maybe that's all it takes, for Blackbeard to show her this is Oden's wanted poster, transform into him, and then poof. There's also the thing, I did a video earlier this week, just a few days ago, on the awakened form of the Mane Mane no Mi, the one that Higurashi used, that Bon Clay now has, and a lot of people were like, wow, that's perfect timing for this. I decided to make that video right after the anime episode, before the spoilers for this chapter were even out. Like last week, when we had the episode with Higurashi showing the power to Orochi, I'm like, ooh, she's transforming without touching her face. It seems like maybe it's an awakened Mane Mane. I gotta do a video about that. And it just so happened I didn't end up making it until later in the week after the spoilers were out, but everyone's like, oh, okay, so maybe that has something to do with that. I don't think this has anything to do with the clone fruit. I really don't. Considering that Higurashi is long dead and Bon Clay has it now, unless Bon Clay has arrived at Wano in something, he went from level 5.5 to Wano somehow. I don't think it involves the Mane Mane no Mi. That was just a coincidence on how that all synced up with the anime episode and everything, but it gives you something to think about. There was one more point I was going to bring up about this. Yeah. So, when we saw the silhouette, patching up the scabbards a few chapters ago, it didn't look like Oden's silhouette. It really did resemble Hiyori or Toki, or I guess Eneru if you want to go with that. There was like a strand of like hair coming down the silhouette, and I mean, I guess you could say that was Oden's hair. Sure, it's not impossible, but it just didn't look like Oden's silhouette, and it looked like that person was smaller than the rest of the scabbards, like was like a regular human, and Kinemon's like 10 feet tall, and so that person was like healing them, whereas Oden is like super tall. Oden's like the same height as like Kinemon and everybody. He's a big guy. So that makes me think again that it might have very well have been Onimaru. Onimaru transforming into Toki first to heal them, and then transforming into Oden. you know, that would make sense. And we don't know what the extent of the Kitsune's transformation ability is, like how many times Onimaru can transform or whatever, how long they can maintain the transformation. Considering the fact he was Gyukimaru for years and years, I'm assuming he has control over that perfectly, but we just don't know the whole rules with that. But yeah, that's what I'm rolling with right now. There's a lot of theories, but I'm going to say Gyukimaru. I don't think it's actually Oden. I don't think it involves the Mane Mane. It might be Katarina Devon, because we did introduce her ability this arc as well, and that also has to do with the Kitsune, so maybe, but I'm going to go with Onimaru, Gyukimaru for right now. Okay. Well, anyway, that was the chapter. A lot of intense stuff happened. There is a break next week, unfortunately, so we got to wait a little while longer to see where this is going to go. But I'm excited. Who do you think the Scabbards are going to go fight? You know, the Scabbards and maybe Gyukimaru or Onimaru are going to go fight, help out the Straw Hats? Are they going to go fight some other characters? I don't know. You know, Chopper, I hope his melee with Queen just continues and he just like freaking just like professional wrestling just beats the shit out of freaking Queen and the Brachiosaur, like does like a suplex or something, just boom, you know, slamming Brachiosaur Queen into the ground. I want to see more of that, and I want to see where it's all going with Momo's Dragon Fruit and the CP0 and what that really entailed. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking, this will be Barry, Robin, and the Top Hat signing out. Later, everyone.